Would you look at that? We're live on the Gumball Head Entertainment Network. How's everybody doing? Let's see here. See if I can get. Let's see if I can get this in here. Here, let's do this.
Like a wallet chain for your brain, this is the Normal Isn't Necessary podcast, brought to you in part by the Gumball Head Sobriety Society.
I need to change the amount of treble on that. Hi, Chuck. How you doing? Thanks for coming in. You just joined the live drive after 5 on my way home. This is the Normal Isn't Necessary podcast, brought to you in part by the Gumball Head Sobriety Society. This is my road rant series. This is where I piss and moan and complain about everything that happened in my day, or I come up with some sort of revelation. And this morning's revelation was talking about understanding that children are influenced by our activities and about the things that we do, and they observe what we do. And when we yell at kids, we yell at our kids to tell them, hey, you know what, get off that computer, get off that video game, and then they see us doing the same exact thing. Well, it creates issue. It creates an issue that they're like, why? So what we do is we're constantly telling people, we're telling our children not to do stuff, but we never tell them why we don't want them to do it. We never tell them why they need to correct that behavior. We just tell them not to do that behavior. And mentally, it fucks them up sometimes. Sometimes it just kind of makes them go, all right, well, cool. Hey, thanks for the follow, Chuck. Much appreciated. But we reach out there and we correct that behavior. All is fine and well, but the downside to that is we don't tell them why. So as they grow older, they got to figure it out on their own. Well, isn't our job as parents to teach them these things, And you can hear the background sound. I don't normally do the lives while I'm driving. But today we are. Today we're doing it live today. Usually I do a recording in the studio. We do recordings in the studio Saturday nights and Sunday nights with our guests on the Get to Know You series. But the Road Rants really is a niche podcast because it's off the cuff. It's unfiltered. It's uncut. It's straight away, whatever I got going on. So, hey, thank you. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate it. But today I got some really good feedback on a TikTok video. I do a lot of campy, cheesy TikTok videos that are silly. And usually they have a message or a mission attached to them. And that message is usually tied into the podcast that we do. So I'll do a video on my lunch break based on the podcast that we did that morning and kind of a midday check-in. And then on the way home, I talk about what I compiled. But this morning, our podcast was titled Teething and Toddler Toots. We none of us slept very well last night. It was a very tough night for all of us. We had some severe weather here in Ohio. The tornado sirens went off a few times, and we just had a lot going on. And, our kids didn't sleep very well. I didn't sleep very well. I'm going to actually plug my microphone in. Chuck, if you're still in here, if you could give me some feedback on this, I'd appreciate it. I'm going to plug the microphone in real quick. But just let me know if it sounds better once I get this plugged in. Like I said, normally when I do the lives, we're recording in the studio. I have Chuck, can I get some feedback from you, a thumbs up or something, and let me know if this sounds better? Much appreciated if you don't mind. It's my little car microphone. But anyways, kids didn't sleep very well. Parents didn't sleep very well. And I'm on call for work as of right now, so I'm wrapping up some side jobs. Okay, great, good. Yeah, it cuts out some of the background and filters things a little bit better. And, this does record it. It puts it out there in our lives. But, I don't have to do any editing when I record on my phone. So, but one of the guys that follows us on TikTok sent me a message today that really really hit home. I had done a video where I was underneath a sink, and I said, we find ourselves in uncomfortable situations sometimes. And I was under a bathroom sink. Now, I'm a 300-pound guy, and I was underneath a sink in a 26-inch wide vanity base. Okay, a small vanity base. And, it's not a comfortable spot. It was not fun for me, but it was necessary because I was working on a faucet. And that faucet put me in a cramped area, which was not fun, but it was, it was necessary because I had to take care of business. I had to do my job. And I made a little video on it that basically just said, hey, we find ourselves in uncomfortable spots a lot, frequently. And, it doesn't necessarily mean physically. Sometimes it's mentally. Sometimes we get into these spots in our lives where, we hit that funk. And, a lot of people that I work with on a regular basis are in recovery. So what'll happen is they'll go back to what's comfortable or what's familiar with them, and they'll relapse. And this guy sent me a message. He's like, I finally found a job after however many months of looking for a job, and I couldn't be more happy. The biggest thing is that I did not pick back up when I stopped. He just toughed through it. And our motto here at the Gumball Head Sobriety Society is stay strong, stay focused, stay sober. And this guy was so resilient in his efforts to stay sober that he overcame that adversity. He overcame those odds. He beat the 2%. He did not return to that. He did not return to use. He did not return to self-destruction. Now, mind you, I was a half a gallon a day drinker. I drank a half a gallon of vodka per day, 2 fists per day, and I worked in public safety. So if I didn't have to work the next day, I would usually finish my night off with some beers too. So not only did I have a half a gallon of vodka in me, but I would have, anywhere from 12 to 30 beers in me by the end of the day. I was toxic. My blood was toxic. My sweat was toxic, and I myself was toxic. I was not a good person. And as I went through all of these changes and these experiences in my life, it dawned on me finally that, a lot of the stuff, a lot of the things that I'm learning about myself was because I wasn't living a purpose-driven life. I was living to drink, and I was using my past as a crutch to drink. I was using alcohol as an excuse. And it wasn't an excuse to drink because of my job. It was my inability to comprehend my mental space. I was unable to deal with the things that I experienced while working because I couldn't process that stuff. So I would use alcohol as an excuse. And then when I would screw something up, I'd be like, oh, it was the alcohol. Thank you for the love there. I appreciate that. But that was a bad thing. I used it as a crutch. I used it as an okay for me to continue to poison myself over and over and over again. And I look back and it's like, man, I've been married 4 times. I have 6 children with 2 different women. The first woman I had children with, that was back in the 90s. We had now my oldest 2 kids are 25 and 23. Okay. Their teenage years were spent watching their dad deteriorate into this shell of a man as a result of his drinking problem, which pushed them so far away from me that when it came to graduation day, they were trying to determine whether or not I was going to be drunk at their graduation or not. And that sucks to look back and see those things that happen. Not only that, but birthday party, sorry, can't make it. I gotta work. But reality was I would work and then I would go to the bar. Or I would work and I would get drunk in a parking lot somewhere and then come home and be a shithead dad. That's not fair. It's not fair to my kids. And to this day, I still do everything in my power to remedy that relationship. I have a grandchild now, and my kids are very happy with how far we've come as a result of my negative choices in life because I've turned my life around. I've been married, I got married again to a wonderful woman. She was great. But we had our negatives and I was still drinking and, I got arrested finally. I finally got caught. I got held accountable for my idiocracy. And the person that arrested me was the best man at my wedding. And legally got held accountable for my idiocracy. And when I blew on the breathalyzer, I was almost I blew a .147 was what I blew on the breathalyzer. I had a CDL with air brake endorsement. I had hazmat double endorsement, and I also had a firearm in my car. So my number was .00. That's what I was allowed. That's what I could have in my blood, in my breath, and I blew a .147, which is 14 times the legal limit for quick math. And, I was facing multiple felonies as a result of, St. Patrick's Day, 2017. My trip to the bar after work. I had a fifth before I went to the bar. And I drank a fifth of Jameson because on St. Patrick's Day, you drink Irish whiskey, right? I drank a fifth of Jameson's whiskey. I went and had a few Guinness. I left there. I stopped at the liquor store for my second fifth of the day. Picked up a fifth of Belvedere vodka. Drank that in a parking lot, and then I went home. Well, when I blacked out and I woke up, I realized I can't find my wallet. So I got ready to leave the house, and my oldest son, he was 16 at the time, said to me, "Where are you going?" I said, "I got to go find my wallet." He was like, "You're not driving anywhere. I can smell the liquor all the way downstairs." So what do you mean? I got to go find my wallet. He's like, "I'll go look for you, but you're not going anywhere." And I'm like, "Are you kidding me? I got to. I have to. I got to go find my wallet. I can't do anything without my wallet." "No, Dad, not going to happen." So I spent that time fighting with my son, arguing with him. He left to go find it, came back, didn't have my wallet. I was pissed. So I got ready to leave anyways. Didn't want to listen to him. Didn't want to hear him out. He's like, "No, if you leave, I'm calling the police." I said, "Go ahead, do it." And he called the police. I said a lot of rotten things to my kid. I flipped him off as I was driving away. To this day, I thank him every single day for calling the police. He did the right thing. I raised him right. Never be mad at him for that. I can never hold it against him. He did absolutely everything I would have expected of him as my son that I would have asked him to do as a dad. He saved someone's life that day. It might have been mine. It might have been somebody else's. But they picked me up 2 blocks away from home. And I spent the night in jail. I lost my job. I was a firefighter. I was a paramedic. I was a medical examiner. I made $100,000 a year. I worked my ass off for that $100,000 a year. But I gained so much more from that experience than I lost. I gained understanding. I gained truth. I gained purpose. I gained, trust for myself. But I lost a lot of respect with my children. And I've worked ever since then to get it back. My kids love me no matter what. And now they're seeing our ability to grow. And it's been huge. And they see that we're doing these podcasts. They see that we're doing the TikToks to help people. My wife and I run a life coaching business for neurodivergent introverts that struggle with addiction. And I specialized in pornography, technology, and gambling. And she specializes in families of addicts. So we put our powers combined and made something out of the negativity that we have promoted in life because of the results of my actions in the past. My wife cut my hair while I was in police academy. That's how I met her. For the longest time, she was my side chick. And we actually fell in love. And we started a family. Well, when our first child was on the way, that's when I found that purpose. That's when it wasn't wanting to have a drink every day. Our first child together is 5 years old now. So those first 2 years of my recovery, or first 3 years of my recovery, well, I guess it was 2, were me getting sober, getting clean to the point where she was willing to marry me. And then when I asked her to marry me, she fell in love and lived happily ever after. But we're still in that point now where it's like, okay, is the shoe going to drop? But we beat the 7-year itch. March 17th, 2017, we just hit 2025. That's the 8-year mark, I don't struggle now. I don't struggle at all. We've created an option, an opportunity to explain different recovery programs to those that are dealing with addiction. And, depending on the school of thought, or depending on the community that you belong to, you have to follow the 12-step programs. No, you don't. You have to do whatever it takes. You have to do whatever you need to do to make things happen. You have to do whatever it takes to be sober. But most of all, you're never going to be accomplished in any of that if you don't have purpose. If you don't have a reason not to do it, you're not going to not do it. You're going to continue to do it. That goes for addiction. That goes for your job. That goes for infidelity. That goes for pornography. It goes for technology. It goes for coloring outside of the lines. If you don't have a reason to color inside the lines in a coloring book, you're not going to color inside the lines. If you want it to look nice, you're going to color inside the lines. Does that make sense? Like if you are trying to make something happen with a specific result, then you're going to have a goal. You're going to have a mission in place. But if there's no goal or mission, you don't really have a reason to follow the rules. You're not going to follow the rules. You're just going to do. You're going to exist. You're going to just be there. So that's where we started creating the Gumball Head Sobriety Society. This is a grassroots nonprofit organization that is based on conversational recovery. It's based on social interactions. It's based on utilizing the experiences of others to help people in recovery, to help people get through adversity in their life. It's not always about drugs and alcohol. It might just be depression or anxiety. It might be suicidal ideations. How do we work through those things? Well, it may not have worked for me, something that somebody suggested, but it might work for somebody else. But if you go to an AA meeting, and you listen to everybody at the AA meeting, there's two things that happen at an AA meeting. People talk about the good times that they had when they were drinking, and they talk about how they got sober. I've never wanted to drink more ever in my life than going to an AA meeting. But on the other side of things, that's where I got sober. But it wasn't until I realized that that was the feelings I had at these meetings before I realized, hey, this is helping me because it's helping me to understand that, yeah, I did have some good times, but man, those good times were overshrouded by the negative stuff that happened in my life. Those good times were holding me back, you know. And then an addiction to pornography, addiction to masturbation, addiction to, you know, girls, you know, my infidelity. Like I said, my wife used to be a side chick. She was my hump buddy. I was married. A good Christian man doesn't do that. He doesn't seek out somebody that's going to fulfill his insatiability. What he's going to do is he's going to figure out what he needs to do to fulfill that insatiability, you know. But until I was introduced to my wife, I did not believe in God. I didn't believe in anything until my wife came along. And it doesn't work that way with everybody, you know, because relationships don't always save you. Sometimes relationships are the trigger that cause us to do these things because we're not satisfied with our relationships. That's why I went into the infidelity thing. That's why I've been married 4 times. That's why I've been through so many things. But once my children started being born and I saw my wife and the love that she gives to the kids and the love that she gives to me and the fact that she packs my lunch every day, that she tells me I'm valuable, these are things that will disarm a narcissist, i.e. me, and then help them to believe that what they are doing is the right thing. What they are doing is creating that purpose in life. It may not be their life. It creates that ability to have that in our life. And yeah, it's work. You know, we spend majority of 2024 traveling the United States talking to the homeless about addiction recovery and resources. And then we worked with churches. We worked with the Border Patrol. We worked with the U.S. Marshals. We worked with public safety entities such as police departments, fire departments, you know, EMS, doctors, lawyers. That's our wheelhouse of people. And these people are integral to our success because this is our family. And when I was in EMS and when I was in public safety, there was a portion of my life when I got out that I was like, there's no help for me. And it was true. There was no help for me because I didn't seek the right help. You're not going to go to an AA meeting as a police officer and try to get sober with people that you've arrested. You're just not going to do it. It doesn't work that way. they're not going to go. So where do they turn? Well, they sit in silence with their addiction. They sit in silence with their adversity, with their negative activities, because they don't have any place to go where they're not going to be stigmatized by community, by society. So they hire high-dollar therapists, high-dollar, counselors to help them overcome their addictions. And they struggle even more because now, in order for them to get healthy and in order for them to get, better, they're not sitting on a bar stool chatting with their buddies. They're paying somebody $75 to $150 an hour to tell them they're fucked up, that they have problems in their lives, and how are they going to fix it? Well, I'll tell you what. I stopped going to college for my psychology degree because I realized that there's going to be a point in my career where I'm not going to be allowed to give people advice. I'm going to have to follow the rules. Well, that's where the normal isn't necessary context comes from. As a life coach, I can give advice. As a life coach, I can make suggestions. As a psychotherapist, I cannot. I have to follow what the curriculum tells. I have to follow what my licensure tells me. I can get the information in college, but then I have to follow rules when I get done with that. That's not the way it works. That's not what's going to make people better. It's not what's going to make me better. It's not what's going to make other people better. It's just going to continue to cause that chaos in our brains to where we struggle to overcome that chaos based on an idea or a concept of what we want to happen, of what we want to change in our lives. If we don't have purpose in our lives, we're never going to have that positive outcome. So, Chuck, thanks for coming in and following us. Take a listen to some of our other podcasts. We've got quite a few of them. We're over 200 now, and they all have different things. I just pulled into a side job, so I'm going to cut this one off. But check it out, man. I appreciate you coming by. If the content was good for you, please leave us a comment. You can follow us on all of our social media. We're on TikTok, Gumballhead Official. We're on Facebook. If you want to go there, it's facebook.com/explore the gumball. Also, I'm not sure if you're bearded or not, but you can check us out through the Modern Viking Beard Care Company. You can use our code Gumball10 for 10% off your order. Of course, I got to throw these things in there because these are our supporters and our followers. And they're just as much part of our family as our family is. So we couldn't be sober without the people that support us. We couldn't be, in a better mindset without the people that are out there. And that's why we love Podbean. We'll continue to use Podbean. We're also on 24 other platforms. Once this gets sent out to the world, as soon as this recording's over, you'll be able to find it on Amazon Audible. You can find it on Spotify. You can find it on Tidal. You can find it on Shoutcast. We direct link straight to the Internet Archive. We want to make sure that the information that we share with people gets out there because it wouldn't exist if it wasn't for the people that help us keep going. So until our paths cross, stay strong, stay focused, stay sober. Chuck, have a wonderful day. Much love to you, friend. I will follow you back as soon as we end this podcast. Have a great day, guys.